Okay, so I know I said I would talk about my new light blue wool skirt next, but I realized that I have more to say about my navy blue wool skirt with the ribbon applique. Specifically, the ribbon applique. I am actually wearing the skirt today because it is still my favorite thing. I love it. I want to wear it all the time. It's very comfortable. I feel very cute and stylish wearing it. It's also practical because the pockets are nice and deep. And I already have a lot of tops in my wardrobe that coordinate with it perfectly. And I just feel good when I wear it. And isn't that the ultimate goal? At least for me, of making my own clothing. This may be my favorite piece of clothing that I've ever made, and it has some pretty stiff competition, so that's saying something. But back to the topic at hand, the applique. I had wanted to include this footage in my first video about this skirt, but I couldn't quite figure out where to fit it in. Also, I have no footage at all of the construction of the skirt, so some of my voiceover is not going to match up with what is happening on the screen. Sorry about that. I started with a skirt mostly assembled and the seams flat-felled down, but I left the center back seam open so I could lay it out flat on my cutting table. This made it much easier to pin on the design, which I was totally making up as I went along. I had a vague idea in my mind, mostly that I wanted a uniform pattern along the lower edge of the sides and back, with a section at the center front that came up higher on the body of the skirt. The picture in my brain was more of an organic design with gently curving lines, but it quickly became clear that velvet ribbon is the wrong material to use for curves. So my first attempt came out much more angular and geometric. I was not at all happy with how this was looking, so I did not start stitching it down right away. I told myself I would sleep on it and start fresh the next day. But the next day, I still didn't like it, but I also didn't know how to fix it. So I gave myself some space from the project. This was a struggle because I really wanted to finish the skirt, but I was also not excited to work on it. And as I've learned in the past few years how the creative process works, specifically for my ADHD brain, I trusted the process. Rather than force myself to sit down and begin the long and tedious process of hand-stitching down the ribbon, I gave it a rest. I worked on other things. I let myself sit with the design as is, to see if it would grow on me. It didn't, so I eventually came back and started over. Understanding the limitations of my material a bit better now, I decided to keep the geometric nature of the design. It wasn't quite what I had in mind, but I was more committed to using the velvet ribbon that was the perfect color and already in my stash, than I was to finding a different trim that would lend itself more to a curved application. After letting it marinate for 2 whole weeks, I realized that the part I did not like was the sharp angles at all the corners. So I compromised by blunting these corners. It wasn't a curve, but it satisfied the part of my brain that was preventing me from wanting to work on it. Now I was happy to sit on my couch and hand sew while watching TV, one of my favorite activities. The applique itself took at least a week, but I was able to enjoy it now that I liked how the design looked. I had started with 2 lengths of ribbon. One was 5.5 yards long, and one was just over 6, and I had pinned the center of the first length of ribbon to the center of the skirt when I began the design. I pinned the entire piece on before I began stitching, to ensure I wouldn't run out of ribbon. But the first piece covered more than half of the skirt, so I knew I would be okay. Once I had stitched all along the top edge of the pinned piece, I added the second length to one side, pinning the continuation of the design until I came to the center back. Then I stitched along just the top of the ribbon again, stopping a couple inches from the back seam allowance. Now it was finally time to sew up the center back seam, and flat fill it down like the others. Once that was done, I could continue the design across the seam in a continuous piece of ribbon. I simply overlapped the cut ends of the 2 pieces of ribbon and stitched them down along both edges. Anything more complicated than that would have added extra bulk at the join, and this looks pretty seamless when the skirt is worn. As I discussed in my previous video, I am very happy with the finished result, even though it was not quite my original vision, and even though the navy velvet ribbon does not show up very well against the navy wool skirt without strong lighting. I rather like the more subtle look it gives, and I really enjoy wearing this skirt. It's comfortable, it's fun, it's flattering, and it has a built-in sensory strip. What could be better? Hello again. I am back on a different day with a different look and the same skirt because I realized I had more to say, and also I made myself a little belt to go with it. So the velvet ribbon belt complements the velvet ribbon applique. It's magnetic. So first of all, I know I said in my first video that I did not make this as a replacement for the brown skirt, but I literally have not worn this since I finished the navy blue one. So I guess it has been replaced in my wardrobe, although I will probably start to wear it more as the weather gets warm, because I do have a lot of brown and things that coordinate with brown. Another thing I wanted to mention is that when I was first talking about that brown skirt and how I made it around the same time that a lot of other people were making this style of skirt, coined the split side skirt by Charlie of the Stitchery, I had originally thought that I didn't really have anything of value to add to the whole split side skirt sort of movement happening. But having made several of these now and working on another one currently, I am realizing that I do mine quite a bit differently from, I think, everyone else who makes this style of skirt. I believe all the other videos I've seen have the pocket attached to the back panel, and then the front panel closes up on top of it, and the pocket is an entirely enclosed piece, whereas I do mine with the pocket basically functioning as a placket, and it opens at the side opening, and the pocket is the side opening. So that's slightly different from how I've seen other people do it. I like this style better for me. It means that when I put my hand in my pocket, I'm not going to miss the pocket opening because it's one and the same with the side seam opening, versus if you have the pocket as its own piece just attached to the back and then the front closes over it. You've got two slits there, you've got two openings, and you could miss the pocket with your hand or your phone or whatever you're putting in your pocket, which is only a minor drawback. And another thing is I think most other people are doing their closures with ties, which does make them more size adjustable than my method of multiple buttons and just one buttonhole on each side. But my method also works better for me in that way because I am typically working with a very small amount of fabric and I don't have enough fabric to make long ties. Sometimes I don't even have enough fabric for a waistband. But also I really dislike when the ties on my garment get tangled up with all of the other clothes in the washing machine when I wash my clothes. So I tend to not put long ties onto things if I can help it. Or in the case of my 1970s wrap dress, I had the ties sewn onto it initially, found that it was a problem in laundry, and removed them, put buttonholes on the end of the ties themselves and buttons on the dress so that the ties can detach for laundering. And I have found that that system works really well. And I have recently removed the ties from my 1940s maternity dress that has the gathered waist, and I've put buttons and buttonholes on those ties as well. And I could do the same thing with my pocket placket split side skirts, but like I said, I don't often have enough fabric to make those ties. I seriously have to force myself to not wear this skirt every day. I just really love it. I can't get over it. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give me a like. And of course, if you'd like to see more, definitely subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye. Oh wow. My microphone was not plugged in, so that's super helpful.